Hello, testing 1, 2, 3. Hello, testing 1, 2, 3. All right. So we're going to continue from the last live stream that we've made showing up the system. I'm going to continue showing you guys how you can basically use the system and be able to edit and do your edits, do your changes on it. So I think in the last live stream, I've showed you how you could do corners. So as you can see, it works very good. If you want to keep adding corners, you can just, copy and paste this, duplicate this, and then just paste where the ledge is. So it's very much simple. And then you're going to have a tag. You're going to add a tag in here. In this case, it's 180. So that if you go there, the character is going to attach, and it can go up or down. As you can see, let me just duplicate this, and then you can keep doing that. And press on play. It's very much simple. As you can see, there's a little bit of overshooting, but that's going to be fixed. Is because the animation itself has the hands, they attach first, and then the root motion continues. So that's why we have that bug. It's because I'm using for this system to make it as realistic as possible. I'm combining root motion with timelines to set and correct the character position. So it's going to correct both in the rotation and location, so that we can have a smooth looking ledge system. All right. So don't worry about this. This is going to be fixed very soon. Now, how can you do inner corners? So for the inner corners, you just need to to make a setup like this, where you have two LED stripes next to each other like this. You have to have a gap like this. And for the first one, you need to have you don't need to add anything. You can just leave it to be 0 degrees. For the next one, you need to have a inner tag in here. So just type inner. I think I've talked about this in the last live stream, and I don't remember. For this one, you can add inner. So as you can see, inner. So all you gotta do for this to work, let me just make an example here. Let's just add this one. Yeah, let's just copy this one over here. Hello, Ami, what's up? So just remember to set the angles. So this is, I think this is going to be positive 90 or negative 90, I'm not sure. Yeah, positive 90. Now I can just duplicate this and do that. So all you gotta do is just add a new tag and then type inner for this one, and for this one, inner. So play. Hello, DDRR. Yeah, this is too much. Maybe this works, but sometimes it might not work. It's too much close to each other. Let me just... Whoops. Too much close. Let's make this way. All right, maybe somewhere like this, where it's gonna make it work. Sometimes you just have to do some little adjustments. Like this one. So as you can see, where the trace is, it's detecting the one on the right side right away. So we don't want that to happen. So let's make it something like this, so that we don't have any problems. Yeah, I think this works. Yeah, I think you just got to learn how to know how the trace works. So now this needs to be a little bit too much over here. So just a little bit of adjustment. I don't know why it says direction not yet set up. I think it's because the direction is too much it's too much far away. Maybe that's why. So I'm just going to reduce it to be like this. So I need the character to be in that position to not glitch. So that's why I make it small. So let's try to be smaller so that the character can navigate in the ledges. Now this needs to be over here. There we go. As you can see, the hands, they go a little bit, they glitch a little bit, they go through. Now that could be a lot of things. Maybe it's the animation itself, maybe it's the timeline, or maybe it's the, yeah, just those two things. Either the animation itself, so you need to contact the pack owner to fix the animation, or it is the timelines, or it could be the custom offset that we set for the character to be on that ledge, but I think that's not the case. When you do when you do any kind of animation, any ledge navigation on the ledge, any ledge navigation, you basically run a timeline, and that timeline is going to determine how fast the character should be able to attach on that ledge. And let me just go through this a little bit. Now these are the timelines that we have available. Now when you do an inner corner, you play this timeline, and as you can see, this timeline is, what is this? Maybe this is not the proper timeline. So it's better for you to just make a timeline for your own. So let's say, let's build a timeline only for inner corners, right? So inner corners timeline, and then you can choose a specific timeline where that's gonna be. And we have a lot of events. I think, yeah, there is too much of information in here, but I'm going to make a document later so that you guys don't get that much confused in here. But basically what I'm doing is just create a separate specific timeline only for when you're going to be doing inner corners, right? So I think that's the best way I can explain it to you guys. So I'm going to create the timeline. So we're going to get a custom timeline, and this is going to be 1. Just going to basically copy paste. There is no need for redoing it. Now I think I can reuse the same timeline as it is for this one, but sometimes you might need to create a specific timeline for a specific animation, because each animation has their own root motion path and speed and direction. So you basically need to know how to tweak those values in order to have a smooth transition. But basically, I'm gonna try to use all the animations from the animations pack that will already contain all those smooth settings, so that you don't need to do anything. Just tweak the values if you need. Or you can also ask for help directly from me. So let's say, for example, you have an animation that's glitching or doing any other weird action on the ledge navigation. You can contact me so that I can help you on that. DTR said, I'm going to watch the first video of the series. Yeah, it's kind of like a series because I'm doing just a preview, a demo of what you're going to get on this project right here, and how the code works inside. So if you go back, you can get the timeline 1 event. So if you double click on that, you're going to see that we're running this timeline here. And this is going to be a test for inner corners. Now, if you go back and go to the ledge montage selector, you can go to the inner corner. So as you can see, inner corner. Now, if you go in here, let me see which is being executed. So when you go to the right, this is the right one. And here, as you can see, timeline 003 for inner corners. There's already selected in there, but I'm not sure why it's not doing well. Maybe let's try the timeline 0 to see what happens. Just to test something out. Yeah, it's too fast. Yeah, I think let's just leave it as it is right now. We don't need to worry about this right now. The purpose of this live stream is just to show you guys how things are set up inside the ledge system. So as you can see now, this is the way that you build the ledge system. Of course, my plan is to make it easier for you guys to just do the level design as much easier as possible. And any problems you have related to anything like building the level design with the ledge stripes, you can contact me on the Discord. I'm always available in there. Yeah, so I guess that's pretty much everything. Do you guys have any questions about this? There's only 5 people in the live. Maybe some of them have questions. Or maybe you guys want to see the code right away and how the code works inside. All right. I'm gonna walk a bit through the code a little bit and show you guys how I've done it. So firstly, when you press F, it checks if the character can attach the ledge. So we have a variable here that's always, the default value is always true by the beginning. All right. So you're going to basically create a variable called can attach to ledge. And then it's going to check if the character can attach to ledge as the first time attachment. So it's going to spawn a sphere trace, but that's for later. We're basically going to check if the character can attach the ledge, firstly. And then it's going to check if the character is already climbing. So it's already climbing. So if it's not already climbing yet, then you can proceed to attach the character. Now, usually I use this Boolean variable to check if, to basically block the player movements. If you go back to the event graph, you're going to be able to see some, if we can process the input, as you can see. So while we are in the ledge, we sometimes block the the inputs so that the player cannot aim while navigating the ledges, just to prevent bugs. Especially the GASP version, you have a lot of inputs. You can, jump, run, aim. If you aim, you change the orientation of the character to aim at the mouse location. You have all those variables and states and conditions. So all you gotta do is all we're going to do is just basically block those movement inputs that comes with the GASP system, GASP project, because they can influence, they can cause bugs while you're navigating the ledges. So I have a branch in here to just not allow those inputs while you're ledge climbing. So you can only aim if we can process the input and if the character is not already climbing. It's not already climbing the ledge. So if the character is not climbing the ledge, so if the character is not yet climbing, I'm confused. So if the character is not climbing in the ledge, then finally we can aim. So as you can see right here, every time when I aim, as you can see, the execution goes through and the character can be able to aim. The player can be able to aim. But now if you are in the ledge, now when you press to aim, as you can see, the execution flow doesn't pass through because the character is already in the climbing state. So as you can see, if you hover over the variable, you're going to be able to see that the variable is true. So it tells us that the character is climbing currently, is already climbing, vice versa, as you can call it. Yeah, there's a lot to cover through. I think I'm going to spend a lot teaching guys this. I think this is going to be the biggest tutorial I've ever made because this is a code overview. I think I'm not going to go that much into depth into this one. I think making a tutorial that covers the basic movements first is a good idea because there's a lot of things that we can cover that we're going to cover here that will be too much time. I have to spend a lot of time to make a tutorial. So I'm just going to basically give you a dimension of this project, how big this project is, and just basically walk you through the code to basically know what's going on as a brief. So here, it's going to basically detect the inputs of the keyboard. So when you press WASD, this X and Y axis are going to change from -1 to +1, depending on which direction you're aiming at. And these values are going to be very important because they are the ones that decide how the sphere traces to detect the ledges are placed. So as you can see, if I go to the left or right, depending on which direction I move with the WASD keys, the sphere trace is going to be placed there. I'm not sure why I set the root motion mode to be root motion from montages only. I'm not sure if it's really needed for that. So I'm going to write this. I'm not really sure if I needed to use this, because by default the animation blueprint, it comes by default, it comes with the root motion from montages only setting setup already defined. You can see that in the animation sandbox character, and if you go in here, you're going to be able to see that we have the animation preview editor. And then right below here in the root motion mode, we see that we have the root motion from montages only already set up. So this is the default setting that we set up. Now, if you find the references to see which, so as you can see, we don't have any special reason to use this. I'm just going to delete that. And I just have to test, do a little bit of testing just to see if something's going to go off. I think generally you don't need to worry about this. So I'm just going to reduce the code in here. So now, if the ledge hit detected is true, which we're going to be talking about later, this Boolean variable here is only true when the trace detects. I'm going to show you the trace later. So if the trace later, later detects the ledge, the branch is basically going to execute as true, and then we're going to jump into the next calculation. So basically, if the sphere trace detects the ledge, this Boolean is going to be true, so that we can proceed with the other calculations. So the sphere trace, it detects the ledge, and it gives you the values of what it hit, of what specifically it hit. So it tells us the ledge angle, what is the impact point, where exactly the trace has hit, what is the angle that the character is going to be in the future. We do all that in here. It also calculates how much angle difference it is needed for the character to turn. What is the current character angle that the character is at? We calculate all that in here. So this is the place for doing the math code to calculate the ledges. So here, define the center, like what's the character start center. I usually do this if you want to debug this to see what is the center of the character. I basically make this calculation in here. This is important because sometimes when you're going to ledges, let me just show you guys. So let's suppose the character is right over here, and the character is attached to the ledge right over here, and there is a ledge over here, and there's a ledge over here. So it's not really that much interesting if you could get like the center of the character. I think the center is considered to be on the pelvis. So as you can see, if you calculate it from here, from the pelvis to this ledge in here, it's going to be a different value. If we would calculate, if you would set the start center of the character, if you could consider the center of the character to be in here, right in the arms. So as you can see, the angle difference is different. And that could basically define, so basically putting the reference point of where the center of the character is going to change the angle that the character needs to be and which animation needs to play depending on the angle. I don't know if you guys get it. All right, so all we're doing here is just like, instead of defining the center of the character on the pelvis, which is right here, we define the center right here. so that we can have a better precision to choose which animation we should play next, depending on which ledge the character has hit. All right. Now here's the ledge target end. So basically what we get in here is just the dynamic ledge attachment, the hit result structure of the sphere trace. And whatever place that the trace has hit on the ledge is going to tell us by retrieving from this value in here. So basically it's the impact point. So the impact point is going to feed this variable here, and it's going to tell us exactly where the sphere trace has hit the ledge. Now here the reach distance is calculated by getting the distance vector node, which is a function that does all the job for us. And then it tells us which distance it takes for the character to go from one ledge to the other. Right, so this value here could be like 90 units, Unreal Engine units of distance. This could be 40. This could be 33. Right. So it basically gives you that value. So you just gotta place those inputs to calculate. So we get the start center to the vector 1, and then the target, which is the impact point, to V2. So it's going to calculate that length distance to basically get to the value that you want, which is the reach distance. Now in here, it's a pretty interesting code because it basically checks if the character should leap. Now, in what condition the character should leap? So basically, if you, as using the keyboard and mouse as input keys, if I use the D key in here, as you can see, it's going to spawn the sphere trace, but only if I'm on that 180 angle. So as you can see here, the trace is not going to be detecting, but if I aim to this side while holding the A button, which is going to cause to redirect the position of the sphere trace. So as you can see, that's all it's doing, is just redirecting the sphere trace, so that I can detect if the character, the player, wants to leap across the map. As you can see, sometimes it doesn't work. I'm not sure why, but this is going to be corrected later. If you place something like remove those ones right here, and just remove this, it's going to be easier for you to identify. It's not working right now. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. As you can see now, it's working. It doesn't work every time. I'm gonna have to figure out why. But basically here, if this value is true, then we're going to change settings inside the sphere trace to basically change where the direction of the sphere trace is going to be. Are you using any paid? Yeah, I'm using the ledge. So for using this system, you need to buy this pack in here. It's $80 so that the system can work. Now, of course, you can try to use other animation packs, but I think this one pack is the best one that I could find. So it's not going to be a bad choice. So here we just do the calculation for doing that. We don't need to really take a look at this right now. It's just values. Now in here we determine the target ledge angle. So here we basically read from the tags. So just remember to add the tags. Otherwise it's not going to work. So basically what's doing here is just getting the trace result and then the hit actor, and then it's going to check for tags. I think the best way to do this would be with the for each loop with break. Yeah, I think not. I think this is the best way to do it. So just remember when you're placing the lead stripes, be sure to select to always put the ledge angle on the top, because this code in here, it gets the first index, which is the first one index that you place in here. So as you can see, index 0. So it's going to read from the index 0 from the first list. Now, of course, when you have a freehang action in here, as you can see, the freehang is always below. So it's always a good practice. Of course, you need to do this to place the ledge and set the ledge angle always on the top, and the freehang on below. Or if you're doing an inner corner, you have to place it right over here. So it's going to basically transform that tag string into a float value, so that we can use later for calculating. Now here you don't really need to take a look at this, because this is just forward and then left and right offsets. But if you're having any problems with the leap function or with any offsets, you can change. You could try to change it here or ask for help on my Discord channel. So here we define the target transform of where the character is going to be at in the future. This is the future location of the character, where the character is going to be on the ledge. You don't really need to take a look at this. This is just it's going to define what's going to be the target angle difference. And then you have all this to be set. So here's going to detect if the character should be doing an inner corner or a freehang action, right? Now, if you have other types of movements, you could try to make another section by just copying and pasting, and then let's say, I don't know, climb up. So if you have a tag that says climb up, then you can just plug it directly in here and then continue the execution from here. So there's not that much secret. And then of course we're going to have to make the values for the booleans as well. And now in here, finally we determine the ledge direction. It's a function that doesn't need to be scared about this one, because it basically defines which angle is considered to be what angle. So basically, when you're doing actions like this, especially for corners, as you can see, when I do that action, basically we need to know which exact animation we need to play based on the distance and direction that the character is going to be moving at. So we have a lot of animations. We just need to know which angle and which distance we need to use, which animation that will match that distance and angle, right? So for organizing things better, I've made a enumerator. Let me show you. Montage selection. I've made a enumerator to make it easier. Things easier to organize which animation you're going to use. Maybe you're going to use maybe you want to use a variation of the animation. So it's going to be a lot better to organize it this way. So as you can see, I've added a lot of values in here. The display name is up. As you can see, there's up, right down, left down, outer corners, inner corners, if it's not set up, the leap 180, so it's all there. So basically, we are going to create enumeration values so that we can execute. So based on that enumeration value, we're going to choose which animation you want to play. So let's say if the enumeration value equals to left, then we're going to play a left animation. And that's also going to depend if the character is going to freehang. So it's a very complex, but at the same time, simple system. You just gotta get used to it. But I'm going to do my best to explain the best I can. My name is Fabiano. Adam. All right. So basically, we do all that in here. So we have a function to determine large direction. So firstly, we check for leap. So just check if the character is leaping first. Is leaping, not slipping. You check if the character is leaping. Now, if it is true, we basically set the enumeration value, which is this one. Ledge direction selection. So you basically get this and set which direction the character is going to go. Now, that one is pretty simple because it's just one leap animation. There's no secret. You can just play that one animation and there you go. But now for the other ones, especially for outer corner detection, we have special values to detect. So basically what we're doing here is just basically selecting which angle we should set. Basically which angle we should consider so that the character can do a outer corner. So like which angle the character needs to be at and which target angle is it so that we do all that. Delaney said, hey, what's up? So here I've created a macro. This is a macro. You can change. So as you can see here, I have the outer corner detector. Here you can change also the macro color for better organization. And then set the ledge input parameter to be black. I like the black color. So for the outer corner detector, inside the macro, we have this. So we compare the float, the in range. So if it's within that value, we set to be true. And then we also check if the character should climb inner corner. So if it is, so if the character should climb, then we set it to false because we're doing a outer corner detection. And then if the character shouldn't climb an inner corner, then probably the character is going to do a outer corner detection. And then we set it to false, and then we set the enumeration value that we set in here, that we chose in here. And then it's going to set to true, which is going to end the function because this is a function. So that we use the return node to end the function so that we can continue the execution. And then we can go to the next one. But if it's false, we're going to do another outer corner detection because the first one is going to detect if the character could be able to do a, let me just separate this from each other. So this one checks if the character should corner to the right, and this checks if the character should corner to the left. Now here we check if the character should inner corner. Here we set some ledge input parameters. So this is going to basically check. I forgot how this one is set, but basically it's comparing like the target angle rotation. It's basically comparing the rotation of the target rotation, and it's basically comparing the rotation difference so that we could get this branch to be true. So if it meets those parameters, we can do a inner corner detector. And then if all those parameters is set accordingly, if it passes through all this execution, if it passes through all these conditions in here, we're going to do a right 90 inner corner. Or otherwise, we're going to do a left. Now, of course, this is a lot complex to understand at the beginning. But if you have any suggestions, let me know to make the system even better. Or if you're confused about something, let me know. But I think I'm going to make a document at the end. I'm going to be releasing this for the premium members. So if you're not a premium member on Patreon, you can check it out in the description. I'm going to be releasing it today, the system here, so that you guys can just take a look at inside, learn how it's done, change some things, some values, and see what happens. You can basically use this for learning and for your projects as well. Now, excluding all that for detecting outer, inner corners, or leaping, we have these ones right here, which basically detect the normal navigation on the ledge, which is just going to be left, right, up, down, those types of, more simpler ledge navigations. As you can see, you can just go to the left, right, up, or down directions. What's up, Dokugan? Yo. So basically that's all that. There's not much things to how many what? All right. Just chilling. All right. So after if done, after let me just see. After we've done it pass through all checks, if we don't have a angle that is reachable, we set up the enumerator to be not set up, so that we know, and then print a string to see, just basically tell us that the direction is not set up. So there's probably something wrong with these values in here, that it's not making it to detect the right angles. Because as I said, we basically define which angle is considered to be, which animation is going to play depending on which angle you set. So if you set a wrong angle in here that it's not defined yet, you're probably going to get a not set up direction result as a result, right? So that's pretty much, that could be a very annoying issue as of when in the process of making the system. This would be a lot. This was a very annoying issue that I was having, because every time I was getting the not set up as a result. So after you've decided which angle the character should be at, actually I think this should be right over here. I think this should be executed first. So if the angle is not set up, there is no reason for us to run this ledge montage selection here. So I'm just going to update this a little bit. So that's that's the importance of making a document and explaining what we've done, because you have an idea of how things work. Even if you become more aware of the code, and you basically know how the entire execution flow works, so that you can refine the code a little bit more, so that the code can get too much perfect for anybody to use. So if the enumeration value is not set up, if it equals to not set up, then we're just going to print a direction is not set up. I think that one could be set in here, so I'm just going to collapse it to nodes, cut that, and then paste it in here. I think that's easier. I think we don't need to write that down. It's just plug in, place it in here. So if the direction is not set up, if there's something wrong with the ledge input parameter value, we would just print a string. Now we have the ledge montage selection, and I think I'm going to stop from here because I have to do some other things. I have to prepare this whole system so that you guys can use it. You guys can use it on your own. But I'm just going to go through this one a little bit so that you guys can see what's going to happen. So basically, this ledge montage selected by direction is going to basically read. It's basically going to get the angle and the direction that is set from the enumerator. So it's going to basically read the value of the enumeration, if the character should go to the right or left based on the angle, and then it's going to choose which montage should be played and how it should be played, and how long does the correction takes to correct the character position with the timeline. I hope that makes sense. Sorry, guys. Hello, how are you? I'm doing fine. How about you? Deep game. I think I'm gonna collapse this to a function. I'm going to say ledge check if should leap, and then change it to appear. I think that's going to make a lot of difference. Can you make forest like Sons of the Forest? Right now, I'm only focusing on the ledge system and weapon and the weapon project files. So if the character should leap, we're going to set it to be true. Should leap. So as you can see, when I do the leap, this function is executed. So that's great. It's working. So as you can see, for each execution, for each animation that's going to be played, we have a specific parameter that we can set. Just to basically make the system as smooth as possible, play that animation and make sure that the character is going to attach itself on the ledge. So we have the option to choose which animation is going to be played. In this case is the leap animation. Here, this value here, we get the use saved act transform. That's going to basically have a different, instead of calculating, that's going to basically change how the character is translated using timelines. Yeah, remove the word translating, like add the word position. So that's going to change how the calculations are for positioning the character on the ledge. So if you have that variable to be true or off, you can have that variable to be true or off, of course. And that's going to depend on how you set up maybe it's going to depend on the animation itself. Maybe it's going to depend on the timeline. Maybe it is going to depend on the distance. I haven't taken that much time to take a look at it, but as you can notice, some of the especially for the short, animations, I don't use that because I think the short animations, while navigating on the ledge, is using the short animations, short distances. I found out that we can use a different method of positioning the character on the ledge and making sure that we have the smoothest available way possible to do that. So that's why sometimes I have this option to be true or off. But it's just going to depend on like how you can test it out on your own and see which makes the difference. And of course, for those who don't know, I've spent like, for doing this project, I've spent like 7 to 1 year to make this project right here. So just take that in mind. That's very refined as the way it is. But of course, I'm going to try to make a very simpler version, a glider version that's going to contain just the basic stuff, just the basic locomotion. And after publishing it on Patreon, I'm going to, of course, launch updates. The next update that I want to launch is the ability for the character to climb up on the ledge. So as you can see, when he gets up to that spot right here, you can press some letter like T so that the character can climb up, because I think it doesn't make sense to make the character the ability to do the ledge climbing, but not the ability to just climb up. So I'm going to make that later. Hello, ASH. Yeah, looks good. It's going to look better when I make this system with using the UFN mannequin, because right now, as you can see, we have a little bit of hand glitching. As you can see, the hands, they move too much, and it's not like that in the original version. Let me show you how the UE4 animations are like. So as you can see, the hands are pretty static. Not in this one, maybe. But if we're going to navigation, for the ledge navigation, so as you can see, the hands are pretty static. As you can see right there. And that's the best skeletal mesh you can use, because when I tried retargeting the UF4 to the UFN mannequin, skeletal mesh, I've noticed that I couldn't get as much detail as I could get as it is in the original animation, for the hands especially. So as you can see, that's why the hand, they move while holding the obstacles, while holding the ledges. But that's going to be for, I think like most of the people, I think they're not going to care that much about that. Maybe they can, just replace the animations and then change the parameters on their own. And then that's going to be great. Now here, I'm not going to go that much into depth on this, but basically you can select which animation you want to play based on the enumeration value, and you can choose how you want to play the method of, how you want to play that animation, what method of position you can use for the timeline, for the correction, What that correction does is that as I'm running root motion animations, when you go from one ledge to the other, I need to have full control of which exact position I want my character to be at. Because I don't have like specific as the system is modular, we can basically make something like this, for example. You can basically move the ledges. You can basically place the ledges where you want. It's pretty much modular, and that's what's good about the system. So you can pretty much place anywhere you want, and it works. So it works great, especially with the freehang animations. So I think there's no reason why not to get the system. So that's why we have that all those methods of playing in how choosing which animation you want to play, and how you should be able to choose like what's the method of positioning the character on the ledge using timeline. So we have two methods. You can try to check this option on or off to see which values you get. The timeline selection as well. You can choose which timeline you can have. You can basically create one from scratch. The timeline length, I usually select between 20 seconds, between 1 second of the timeline length. So, and also the add play rate, maybe the animation takes too much for the character to, maybe the character takes too much to just go from one ledge to the other, so you can change that as well. But be sure to not change the play rate. Oh yeah, the play rate is just like how fast the animation moves, and the starting position is the starting position of where the animation starts playing. So you can, maybe the animation is too much slow, you can change that value in here, or if you want to add like, usually a value that I add is like -2. So that value, that play rate is going to be summed up with this value here, which is the default play rate. The default play rate of every animation that you play is 1. So if you add like -0.2, it's going to just reduce that compared to 1. So it's going to be like 0.8. So that you can add this value in here. All right, so I'm just going to make it 0 because I don't want to change the play rate. The starting position, I always leave at 0, but if you have one animation that you think it's better for changing that value here, you can change. The delay until correction, now that's very important, because as we do a correction with timelines, the value that you place in here is going to affect on how fast the character corrects its position to the target angle. You can change this value here to see which one works the best. As you can see, each parameter we have in here, we set that value to be one single value, a unique value. So this is 94. So it's going to take like, for this one, it's going to take 23 milliseconds for the character to correct itself on the ledge. So it's all done over here. And then later, I'm going to, all I'm gonna do later, actually right now, because I'm going to end this explanation here. It's going to, otherwise it's going to take that much. As I cannot publish these animations right here, you guys are gonna have to buy it, but that's just $80. So all I want to do is just go to the structure. I'm going to add a new structure in here. And then I'm going to type like place, like structure, place your ledge enums here. So of course we're gonna have to retarget in the animations. So for retargeting the animations, you're just going to go to the before. We're going to right click, retarget animations. You're going to go to the UFN. And here you're going to choose which animation you want to retarget. You can choose this one, works very good. So just select everything and then just export animations. So you're going to choose which folder you want that animation to be at. And there you go. Once you have those animations retargeted, we're going to have something like this. All you got to do is just select all the animations that you've just retargeted. You're going to probably have more than 130 plus. So you're just going to select all the animations on that folder. And then you're just going to right click, create animation montage. So it's going to create a separate animation montage for each animation sequence. So if you don't know, an animation sequence is the green one, and the animation montage is the purple one. So that you know. So we're going to be using we only work with animation montages. So just do that, and it's going to be great. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. All right. So the structure is going to contain all the animations. The value. Let me see here. Default values. Yeah. So as I've just created a structure, I'm going to set the variable type. So animation montage. And then in here is going to be the animation name. I'm going to take a look at the timeline selection. Not timeline selection, the montage selection. Now in here, I'm going to just plug and play. Just keep adding those values there. Blah, blah, blah. So here's the right up, here's the right down. All right. Now I think all we gotta do, is, I guess it's missing the freehang animations as well. Freehang. Maybe I could create a new structure only for placing the freehang animations. I think that's going to be better. Create a separate structure just for placing the freehang animations. Yeah. So just to not confuse things in here. So ledge, freehang animations. All right. So all I'm going to do to differentiate here a little bit, to not confuse, I'm going to type freehang to all the variable names. click. There you go. Now all you gotta do in here is just place those animations. I'm going to take a look at the animations that are in here. So I'm gonna go to sandbox character and go to all the montage should be played. So for the leap, I'm going to use the first one first. So the leap, I'm just going to copy the name. So if you have the leap animation, you can just plug that in there. Now for the corner, for the left 90 outer corner, let me just put this. And then basically all you gotta do is something like this. Just place the animation. So the right up animation is this one. This is doing a, I think this is going to the left. Yeah, so this is the left one. Oops. So if you need help with setting up those animations, just ask me on Discord. I'm able to help. But the purpose of doing this is just to, let me just place this back into here. Whoops. Now the purpose of doing this is because you can basically do this. Go to variables, press on the plus button, go to the get the place your ledge animations here. So we have the ledge animations and the ledge freehang animations. So it's going to, of course, depend if your character is going to perform a freehang animations. The freehang animations are going to be on this right side in here. So just make sure that, oops, make sure that you're using the, so all the freehang animations are here. There we go. Just to make that sure, just to make that clear. Now, here is the animations. So animations, oops. Hello, Morningstar. I'm going to be releasing the premium the system here for the premium members today, right after the stream. So I'm just going to do a break, and here you can select which animation you want to have. In this case, I think we're going to start from here. So this is the leap 180. There we go. Now, if you don't wanna, if you just wanna use one in here, you can just click on the break, and then you can just unpin all the other ones that you're not going to be using. So that it's more compact. All right, so you're going to be doing something like this. Now for the corner, same thing. You can just unplug the one that you're going to just select the pin, and then use the left, in this case is the left 90 outer corner. So you're going to unplug this and then place it there. But you're not going to be doing this, I think. You can just, once you have the animations retargeted, you can just plug those animations in here so that they're going to work. All right, so that's going to be it for this tutorial. So I see you guys in the next one.